Space, the final frontier. This is the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Its mission to explore the solar system, to seek out new observations and data, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now the host of the Observer's Notebook, Tim Robertson.
Hello and welcome to episode 214 of the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. I'm Tim Robertson, the host of the podcast and also the coordinator of the training program within the ALPO. The Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers collects and analyzes observations of various solar system bodies and associated phenomenon, and publishes detailed reports concerning these bodies in its quarterly publication, the Journal of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers, also affectionately known as the Strolling Astronomer. This podcast depends upon donations from you, our listeners, to keep it going. If you enjoy what you hear in the podcast, you can donate to it via Patreon. You can start by giving as little as $1 a month. If you feel more generous, for $5, receive early access to the podcast before it goes public. For a monthly donation of $10, receive a copy of the Novice Observer's Handbook. And for $35 a month, you receive producer credits on the podcast. You can help us out by going to www.patreon.com/observersnotebook. And if you'd like to join the ALPO, membership begins at $22 a year. For more information, find us at www.alpo-astronomy.org. And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search for ALPO Astronomy. And this podcast also has a Facebook page as well. Just search for Observer's Notebook. And if you enjoy what you hear in the podcast, please subscribe. That way you'll never miss another episode. And now, enjoy this episode where we're talking minor planets. Enjoy. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody back to this edition of the Observer's Notebook podcast. And I want to thank a return visitor to the podcast, Frederick Pilcher, the coordinator of the ALPO Minor Planets Section. Frederick, welcome to the podcast.
No, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while since you were on in 2017. I don't know if you recall that, but you were episode 17, and now we're at episode 214. So it has been a while.
A lot of real good episodes by real good people.
That's true. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. But since it's been a while, can you give everybody a little bit of background about yourself?
Well, I've been interested in asteroids all my life, or at least since childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I was a charter member of the ALPO Minor Planets Section when it was first founded, and became the official recorder in 1982.
Okay.
Then in 2007, I started doing research on CCD photometry and light curve analysis. I published rotation periods and light curves of several hundred different asteroids in the Minor Planet Bulletin, starting in 2007 and continuing through the present. I'm still at it.
Fantastic. Now, can you give us a brief overview of the Minor Planet Section?
Minor Planet Section, who founded it? I can't bring up his name right now, but
Don't worry about it.
I had already written an article in Sky and Telescope, and so he invited me to join, and I did, and started writing. This was in 1973, and at that time, the emphasis in the Minor Planet Section was just on simple visual observing. People were learning how to use charts such as the Hans-Varenberg Photographic Atlas of the Sky to plot paths of asteroids on these charts, and then turn the telescope in that direction and watch them go across the sky. And I was involved in that work for more than 30 years.
Oh my, very good. So, what if someone wanted to get involved with the Minor Planet Section? What type of equipment would you suggest?
I would suggest at least a medium-sized telescope with a good polar tracking and INCCD.
Okay.
Appropriate software, the MPO Canopus and Connections software are great for analyzing data and obtaining it at the telescope. Tycho Tracker is a new program for analyzing data that has recently come out. Get any issue of the Journal of the ALPO and look up my column on the Minor Planets section. You have my address there, and send me a letter, and I'll try to guide you through the principles that you will need to become a proficient observer of asteroid light curves.
Okay, and that
I would offer to mentor anybody who has the equipment and the desire to do it.
Oh, fantastic! That's good to know. Yeah. So are the observations for the Minor Planet section specifically light curves?
Most of the work that is done, that is published on the Minor Planet section, are light curves.
Okay.
Some work is done on sophisticated analysis of the light curves, for instance, using light curve inversion techniques to determine sidereal rotation periods and polar orientations and gain some idea of the shape. These properly go to. Again, I'm sorry, I can't quite bring up the name of it. The DAMIT website, which is run by Joseph Durek in Prague, of the Czech Republic.
Oh, all right.
But again, you can anybody who's interested can get this information from me.
Okay, great. So you mentioned a couple pieces of software. What were those again, and what specifically do they do?
Okay, Brian Warner has been interested in minor planets for decades. He is also a very proficient computer programmer. So he wrote up and is continually advising and improving it. They sell what they call my MPO Connections. It provides links to telescopes, go-to type telescopes. Also provides links for turning on the CCD, adjusting CCD temperature, obtaining dark and light images, and then storing these in the computer hard drive. Basically, that's what MPO Connections does.
Okay.
It's much more complicated than this, but that's an overview. MPO Canopus now, basically what all it does is a datum is a magnitude and a time. And you get an asteroid light curve, you monitor it for several hours, preferably most of the night, get a whole series of magnitudes and times, and then plot a graph. And as the elongated asteroid rotates, the light goes up and down, so you can see it go up and down. And then if you get light curves on several nights, you can line up corresponding sections of them and get data for 20, 30, 50 rotations. You can get the period to correct to 1 part in 1,000.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, you won't do this on a single night. You'll have to do it over several nights. You'll need a few tens of rotational cycles covered in order to do this. You don't have to, of course, include every rotation, but you have a few light curves scattered out over 50 rotational cycles. And the software will help you to align them and yield the rotation period.
Okay. So in the section, how many current contributors do you have?
Oh, well, quite a few.
Yes.
I guess that we have, in the course of a year, I don't keep count, but I suspect there are 100 different people who are contributing, including those groups that have multiple individual people contributing to them. So I would count each of these individuals as a contributor. This is a wild guess, but I would say it's no less than 100, might be more than that.
Oh,
That's who's
fantastic.
doing it right now. Of course, there are people who start up, go for a while, and then start up. We have new procedures. But having been in minor planets all my life, I started up 18 years ago, and I'll keep on going as long as my equipment keep on working.
So what was it about minor planets that attracted you?
I think there is something in my basic character that attracts me to a large number of objects, each of which is different. And that's about the only explanation I can figure out. There is a subject in astronomy which just appeals to my fundamental character. I'm blessed to have been involved with it. That I and my research are a natural combination. We're good for each other.
That makes sense. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, because you're doing science.
I'm doing real science.
You're doing real science, and you're plotting the orbits of these minor planets.
Not orbits. I'm not involved in astrometry.
Right.
I'm involved in photometry. I'm plotting light curves as the wide and narrow sides of an elongated asteroid point toward the Earth and Sun. The brightness gets alternately brighter and fainter, and this is what I monitor.
Okay. Has the Minor Planets Section made any significant observations or discoveries over the past years?
Well, we have found a lot of new rotation periods that were unknown.
Okay.
We have corrected a lot of mistakes that earlier observers made. They published rotation periods. We found that they were wrong. We found, in other cases, we found that our new light curve showed that the ones obtained years earlier were correct. So it's an ongoing procedure. I mean, there's no end of asteroids to observe.
That's true. That's very true.
So one can always find new targets, and we have people whose business is to identify new target asteroids for which additional light curves would greatly improve our knowledge of the rotational properties.
So where are your observations published? You mentioned the Journal of the ALPO. Is there someplace else?
No, the observations are not published there, just a summary. They're published in the Minor Planet Bulletin.
Okay. And is that something you publish yourself?
No, the editor of the Minor Planet Bulletin is Dr. Richard Binzel, recently retired from being one of the top asteroid professionals at MIT. He's still involved in the Psyche mission to Psyche. I think we'll get there in about a couple of years. He's involved in the Lucy mission to the Trojan asteroids.
Okay.
So even in his formal retirement, he's still very busy.
Okay.
Brian Warner has been a big contributor, and there are other people.
Okay. So how does someone subscribe to the Minor Planet Bulletin?
Just has to be put on their mailing list. It's free.
Okay, cool. I will put a link to the Minor Planet Bulletin in the show notes for this podcast, so anybody interested can go there and check it out. So it sounds like there's a little bit of professional and amateur collaboration within the section too.
It's very good in professional amateur collaboration. Professionals realize that a lot of new work can be done with medium-sized telescopes. That amateurs have plenty of telescope time. One thing about these light curves is it takes many, many hours of photography, just one object. But we amateurs have telescope time only limited by the weather and any reason and any personal reasons we may have for being unable to observe a particular night. I would say that here in Las Cruces, I probably get light curves on close to 3/4 of all the nights because I've got fine clear weather in the desert Southwest.
There you go. Very good.
Well, of course, how many nights people get depends on their observing circumstances, but there are a lot of people who observe every chance the weather and their personal circumstances allow.
Okay. So what do you see as the coordinator? What do you see as the future of the Minor Planets Section?
There are a lot more asteroids out there for which light curves could be found. There are even more for which we have some idea of the rotation period, but for which additional light curves would enable the rotation period to be determined with much greater accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And we could also get some idea of the shape. And of course, there's a lot of wrong periods out there, and some that we believe are correct, but further observation will show that the earlier observers are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the care that I have used, I've still made several mistakes. So published wrong periods, which of course I promptly retracted once I found out that they were wrong. Made every effort to correct my observations.
And also, I'm sure the sensitivity of the equipment you're using has changed over the 30 years that you've been involved with the section.
I have seen during the 30 years or more that people have been publishing asteroid light curves, considerable improvements in the results that they publish.
Yeah. This is great. Frederick, I want to thank you for this. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about the Minor Planet Section?
If you like the work, you'd like to collaborate with other people. I've collaborated with observers all over the world, and you do good work, show some enthusiasm, and they'll collaborate with you, and together we'll get some wonderful new results.
That sounds great. Frederick, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm sure the privilege has certainly been mine.
All right. We'll talk to you. Hopefully it won't be 7 years until we talk again.
Well, when you want to talk to me again, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast. I want to thank again Frederick Pilcher for coming on the podcast and giving us a very lively discussion about the Minor Planet Section. If that's something you're interested in observing, please reach out to Frederick. We upload a new episode of the Observer's Notebook on the 1st and 15th of every month. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. If you do, please give us a rating and a review. I'd really appreciate it. You can also listen to us on Apple Radio, iHeartRadio, Soundcloud, Spreaker, Google Play, Stitcher, Amazon Echo, Spotify, and the podcast is also available on the ALPO YouTube channel. You can help support the podcast by donating to it via Patreon, where you can give up to $35 a month, where you'll receive 1 year's membership to the ALPO and producer credits on the podcast. With that, I'd like to thank the producer of this podcast, Steve Siedentop and Michael Moyer, for their generous support. The link for Patreon, as well as the link for the ALPO, is in the show notes. You can contact me via email at commentman@commentman.net. Until next time, I hope that you always have clear and steady skies. Thanks for listening.